The chimps are infected.
Infected with what?
In order to cure, you must first understand.
Infected with what?
Ligma.
What the fuck is talking about?
Ligma balls, you suck.
Hi, my name's Alex Tobin and welcome to Shook Club, a place to discuss the best and worst of all things horror. And today, I wanted to cover the 2003 horror film 28 Years Later. 28 Days Later. I wanted to cover this movie not only because we're on the cusp of 28 Years Later coming out, but also because I just had a friend remind me of how many people I traumatized at sleepovers by showing this movie. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. So today we will be going over the film 28 Days Later to see if it still holds up to this day. Just to preface this a little bit, the movie was directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland, who both in their own right have gone on to have amazing careers. Boyle was coming off of Trainspotting, which was already critically acclaimed, but Garland hadn't really written a screenplay yet. He had written The Beach, which was adapted into a film by Danny Boyle, but this was like his first knock at screenwriting, and Boyle really liked the script but knew nothing about zombies. So Garland, you know, an adamant zombie lover, helped create this world and kind of created the first fast zombie that we see in zombie cinema.
Fast as fuck. Still fast as fuck, boy.
Garland said he was inspired by the dogs in Resident Evil. He was a huge Resident Evil fan, but specifically the Doberman Pinschers scared him the most instead of the slow, staggering zombies. But enough backstory, let's get into the actual film. The movie opens on a really dark, spooky, experimental lab with chimpanzees strapped to tables, being forced to watch the most vile shit you've ever seen in your entire life.
Oh, we're so sorry to hear about your brother that passed away. He gets 5 big bones. Boom! 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 Boom!
This haunting imagery is obviously affecting their brains in some way. There's some kind of mind experiment going on. But luckily, they're going to be saved by a bunch of activists that have just broken into the facility and are going to free the chimps. I don't know what they're going to do once they free them. I mean, we find out what they do. But when they walk into the facility, they see exactly what the chimps have been exposed to, which, once again, pretty haunting shit.
When do we call it? When do we call it consciousness? I was watching a video today that we played on the podcast earlier of a monkey riding a motorcycle down the street, jumps off the motorcycle and tries to steal a baby.
Yeah, I saw that one.
This is when the scientist comes back from his poop break and immediately gets held hostage by the activists. He warns them to not let them out of their cages because they are in fact infected with a rage virus. The activists clearly do not listen to him and open up one of the cages as Dunstan checks out. The monkey's going to town. The lady's throwing up blood everywhere. The chimps are loving it. This is the best thing they've seen since 2001: A Space Odyssey. But shortly after, we cut to 28 days later. This is when we find a man in a coma, and he's not doing well. My boy looks like shit, and he probably feels worse. This is my man Jim, and he's a bicycle courier who got into an accident and ended up in a coma, who then woke up to the apocalypse. He goes downstairs and immediately tries to put himself into another coma as he shotguns a Pepsi to the face. I like to imagine that Pepsi machine was ripped open not by humans, but by one of the infected, but he just like really liked Pepsi. After finishing his can and taking a couple road sodas, he gets out to the streets only to find them completely empty. Jim walks the streets and he realizes something is very wrong. There's not a single soul in sight. He comes across a wall of pictures filled with missing people and letters and warnings. After strolling around for a little bit longer, he realizes the safest place to probably go in times like this is, of course, to the house of God. As he walks in, he finds hundreds of dead bodies stacked in the pews. I mean, just completely taken aback. He's slowly trying to piece it together, but as he shouts a hello, he finds out that not all of them are dead.
Hello?
Wake up! Wake up!
And some of them are thirsty.
Did you drink my Mountain Dew? Did you drink my Mountain Dew? Let me smell your breath. Let me smell your breath.
Jim clocks the priest with his bag of sodas, skedaddles it out of there as the rest of the congregation follows as he runs down the street, trying to figure out what these soda junkies really want. It's not long after that a group of masked individuals start hucking Molotovs to try to save him.
Get out there!
After a few crispy corpses and a gas station explosion, they quickly run to a convenience store to take refuge and explain to Jim what the hell is exactly going on. The two masked individuals introduce themselves as Mark and Selena. They tell him that there is no government, there are no people.
Our pets' heads are falling off!
And there is a rage virus that has taken the UK by storm. It's a lot for Jim to process at first, and even though they tell him that his parents are dead, he wants to see his mom and dad. So they agree. As they get to the house, Jim quickly discovers that Selena and Mark were right. Jim finds that his parents have taken their own life, and they've also left him a heartbreaking letter. Jim takes the news pretty well considering, and they end up spending the night at the house to make sure that they're not traveling during the night. Problem is, Jim can't sleep, reminiscing on pictures of his parents. Unlucky for him, the zombies can smell that bergamot candle from 5 miles away.
Name is John!
Jim's pretty useless in the scenario, but luckily for him, Selena and Mark are light sleepers and they just start whacking away with their machetes. They take care of the issue, but after the dust has settled, Selena notices Mark has a little cut on his arm.
Mark?
Wait.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done it.
This scene always kind of fucked me up. And I think it also kind of just like hammers home the brutality of this movie and also that no one's safe. You think Mark's a main character. Mark ain't shit. They then leave Jim's house and start walking with no real plan in mind. Selena tells him, I don't want to fall in love. I don't want to find a cure. It's all about survival. But then they spot some Christmas lights on a high rise.
Hey. What's that?
They make their way to the apartment building and crawl up the grocery outlet parking lot to get to a staircase where they then have to climb with nothing but soda and candy bars in their system. Halfway up, Jim collapses, asking for another soda. But unfortunately, there's some other soda fans out there.
As for sugar, Pepsi or Lilt.
Do you have any Tango?
Actually, I did have a can of Tangos. Quiet! It's infected.
They book it up the stairs, and once they get to the top, they find a masked man standing in the stairwell. He tells them to quickly get into the apartment as he deals with the soda drinkers. After the dust has settled, they are let into the apartment where the two survivors introduce themselves as Frank and Hannah. They're delighted to have new guests and they have to celebrate, but don't worry because they got the top shelf green shit as they all toast to another day of survival.
Cheers.
That's fucking disgusting. That's making me fucking sick.
Jim and Selena try to relax and recoup for the night as they discuss whether they should take their new survivor friends with them on their journeys. Selena says, Jim says, Frank says, I could hear you guys through the wall. The next morning, Frank shows them his bucket collection on the roof, including a wastebasket, which I know everybody points out, but it gets you this much water. It's like this much, but that's still a good amount. Only problem is Frank says it hasn't rained fuck all in 10 days. He confesses he doesn't think they could stay there much longer. But luckily, Frank has a piece of info that just might help everyone. Frank shows him a little message that he picked up on his little hand-cranked radio.
Hey, you're just mad because I'll be able to do something with my fucking guitar in hands that you'll never be able to achieve in your entire life, kid.
Oh my God.
Quiet, there's more.
So yeah, you're gay.
The radio broadcast actually tells of an army base on the outskirts of Manchester, I believe, that claims that they have the answer to infection. This is enough for them to say, let's get out of here. And they hop in Frank's cab and get on the road. Not shortly after driving, they come to the tunnel. I think this is one of the scariest scenes in the movie, and I think Jim can sense it too, because he's the only one that wants to go around and take the long route. I'm surprised the cab driver doesn't want to. I feel like that's very cab driver. But Jim loses the vote, and they go through the tunnel, and surprisingly, over the biggest heaps of metal you've ever seen. Like, I don't know what this metal is. I don't know what kind of car they're driving, but good God, they like drive over serrated metal, and it's only on the drop off that they blow their tire. They quickly get out and start changing the tire, but they hear something in the distance.
Hey, did you hear that? Hey, did you hear that? You know what?
They get caught in a rat stampede as the vermin race away from the infected. This is one of my favorite shots in the movie. I love seeing the shadow silhouettes of the infected running through the tunnel. The music's great. The acting is great. As Hannah's forced to change the tire quickly as the infected come barging over the metal piles closer and closer to them. Just in the nick of time, they get the tire on, all pile in the car, and race out of there. One of the zombies, he kind of like flails like I'm full of rage, but I'm not dumb enough to keep chasing that car.
He's a freak. He's a fast killer. He's a fast killer.
After probably one of the most intense scenes in the movie, we luckily get a little reprieve as the gang stops to do a little grocery shopping. This scene always reminded me of this Toys R Us sweepstakes. You basically, if you won the sweepstakes, you got 5 minutes to run around Toys R Us and throw whatever you wanted in the cart. And whatever was in that cart, you got to keep. And this was like a high fantasy of mine. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're kind of running through, they're grabbing. I mean, they make bad decisions. I think she grabs a chocolate orange. As they leave with 4 grocery carts full of food, Frank's a class act. He pays for it. And they pile 4 grocery carts worth of groceries in that tiny car. I don't think they're going to be driving over any metal heaps. I think their suspension's completely gone. They quickly stop for gas at a gas station. And Jim goes in and he is forced to kill a zombie child with a bat and walks out like nothing happened. This scene will come back and play nicely off of the next scene, which is when they stop and have a picnic in a nice field while horses run around in the distance. They take a moment to appreciate the beauty even in all the chaos, and they watch the horses gallop around.
Like a family.
Do you think they're infected?
No, doing just fine.
This is when Selena talks to Jim and basically says that she was wrong about not needing people, and she begins to see the light in the world. While Jim is just coming off of a first kill, basically, and not only a first kill, but a kid, and he is a little bit darker for it. So they've both kind of like taken a little bit of each other's ideology as they kind of meet in the middle. After spending the night in the field and a couple of nightmares, they wake up and they get back on the road to go meet the soldiers. When they arrive at the coordinates, they notice nothing but abandoned equipment and outposts. No one is there. The army is either dead or have left them to fend for themselves. Frank, understandably, is not happy about this because it was his idea. As he pouts off by himself, a crow begins to mock him as it pecks away at a dead body hanging from above. Annoyed, Frank walks over and shoos the bird away as a drop of blood delicately falls right into his eyeball. That shit sucks. That's the worst. That has to be the worst. That's like the most preventable way, right? Just like turn your head a little bit, Frank. I get it, shit happened, but goddamn, you got to be careful these days. Frank immediately knows that he's big time fucked and tells his daughter that he loves her before pushing her away, and then starts doing the rage elbows.
Oh my god. Oh my god. He on X Games mode.
They'll do this. They'll like, that's like their signature. I like the elbows. The elbows look good. Selena screams at Jim to kill him, but Jim just can't do it. He likes Frank too much. But luckily, just on the tree line, the army pops up and fills Frank full of lead. And then Hannah hits him with this iconic line.
Dad?
Yeah, He's good. He's fine. He's gonna be okay. Nah, Frank dead as hell. The army quickly piles him into a car and brings him to their heavily fortified fortress on the edge of town. This is when we meet Major Henry West and his men, who seem like a bunch of idiots. Major West tells them that they got clean sheets, hot water, and of course,
the answer to infection. Well, as I said before, it's here, though it may not be quite what you imagined.
why would he say it like that? Like, we know his plan's going to be sinister now. Like, it has to be. After a quick conversation, Major West really wants to show Jim something as he takes him to his zombified pet, Mailer. Mailer is a certified freak on a leash, and he's not feeling well. West claims that he has him on a leash to study him, and if nothing, they will at least find out how long it takes for the infected to starve to death. Jim has a little sympathy for Mailer in this moment, and I always found this moment really, really interesting because I question in zombie movies how much of the original self is still in there, and you can see in this moment, Mailer kind of like reaches out like, can you help me? Before trying to quickly grab Jim, which shows that either it's a hunting tactic or it's some part of Mailer is still in there. It's hard to really tell, but they're not full rage. There's thought process in there and there's manipulation of some sort. I don't know. Next, they sit down for dinner as one of the soldiers serves them rotten eggs, I think. Hey, look it, we made him wear a dress to show that he's a woman. This is when the soldiers start talking about whether it will ever return to normal, and the only ethical soldier there kind of just basically tells them normalcy is when humans weren't around, so yes, it may return to normal, which means we will be completely eradicated. Just brings down the mood. But luckily, the mood's about to go way the fuck up because they're getting attacked. All the soldiers race to their positions as zombies run, stepping on landmines, getting caught in barbed wire, and they make quick work of the hordes. As they win the battle, testosterone starts flowing through their veins as they, of course, have to try to commit sex crimes against their newest guests. Jim steps in but gets smacked to the floor, and Major West has to come in and apologize for everything as he asks Jim to go have another conversation. This is when we find the cure for infection. Guess what? Shit ain't even a cure.
We may have to repopulate the earth.
Basically, Major West tells him that he promised his men women because of low morale. Get them candy bar. We brought soda. Dog, you want a Pepsi? Jim sees the writing on the wall for what's about to happen and quickly grabs his two friends and tries to get the hell out of there. But unlucky for him, he gets knocked to the ground by the soldiers. The only ethical soldier kind of stands above him and tries to protect him, but he gets made quick work of too as Jim, an ethical soldier, are thrown in prison and Hannah and Selena are taken to another part of the castle. Ethical soldier starts talking about how the soldiers are crazy, but it doesn't matter at this point because the soldiers just love killing and doing soldier shit. As they take the two men back out to the murder pile and argue about the best way to kill somebody. They kill ethical soldier pretty quickly, and Jim makes a quick escape, jumping over the garden wall outside of the fortress. As Jim runs to the point of exhaustion, he collapses on the ground, looking up at the sky. Completely hopeless and distraught, he sees a jet flying overhead, which proves to him that civilization still does exist and there are other people out there, something worth fighting for. So Jim devises a plan. As the soldiers back at the base, prep the women by giving them dresses, as Selena gives Hannah some pills of some sort to try to dull her senses or make her pass out so she won't remember whatever is about to happen to them. But suddenly we hear a siren going off in the distance as Jim has triggered an alarm which causes the soldiers to go look and see what's going on. Jim is able to draw them out and kill one of the soldiers, but Major West gets away, not by vehicle, but on foot as he's forced to retreat into the woods. Jim quickly grabs a gun and makes his way back to the compound where he looks down into the pit, only to see Mailer still on his leash. Coming up with a pretty solid idea, he aims his gun down and shoots Mailer's chain, freeing him as the freak is now leashless. Mailer starts wreaking havoc like immediately.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And he starts getting some new followers. The women quickly try to make a break for it, but are stopped by the soldiers at the door.
Hey! Where the fuck are you going, eh? What's all the fucking shouting about?
The two infected soldiers start running around the compound, ripping people apart, but there was someone deadlier in there.
We are on the verge of taking out all the ops.
Jim starts making quick work of the soldiers as he devises another plan to save Selena and Hannah. Selena and one of the soldiers are held up in a room as Jim slowly creeps down from the rafters, attacking the man and giving him one of the most visceral, brutal deaths I've ever seen in my life.
He poked me in the eye.
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
I know some of you might not think it's that brutal, but like, this kill has stayed with me for 20 years. I still remember this so vividly. When I saw it, I couldn't believe it was real. I mean, it's not real, but it looks real. After brutally murdering this man, there's a great moment where Selena thinks that Jim is actually infected and she's about to kill him, but stops at the last minute and realizes that he's himself and he's just completely changed because the world has changed him and he's a violent killer now. But luckily for her, that's a turn on and they smooch for a good moment. Unfortunately for Jim, he gets bonked and sent straight to horny jail. But they don't have time to kiss because Mailer and his buddy are still running around the compound. So they quickly make their way to the cab, and as they open the door, Major West is in the back seat, gun pointed at them. He fires quickly as it lands right in Jim's gut, collapsing him to the floor. Hannah quickly crawls in the front seat and says, "Don't worry, I'm high on pills," as she quickly slams the car in reverse and runs it back towards the mansion. Hannah then pulls forward as Jim and Selena jump into the car and make their way to the front gate. Unfortunately for them, the gate is locked. But fortunately for them, Hannah's still high on pills, so she floors it, smashing through the gate as we cut to a freeze frame and then the words 28 days later. As we cut to Jim waking up in the bed, similar to the intro scene, as he finds Selena and Hannah both alive and well, sewing together some kind of white sheet. Hearing something overhead, they quickly run out of the house and lay whatever they were sewing on the ground to form a giant help sign as a jet fighter flies overhead. They turn to each other smiling, knowing that they are saved as we cut to credits. I would be a little bit more wary of the military after they just went through, but I guess helps help, so hey, we're here for it. The original ending was Jim getting shot in the gut and then Selena, Hannah, and Jim all rushing to an abandoned hospital as they try to perform some kind of surgery on Jim as he flatlines on the table, with then Hannah looking at Selena and asking her, "What do we do next?" And I think she says something like,
"Tough time never lasts, only tough people last."
And they just like walk down a desolate hallway, which is just not as happy. I guess audiences didn't really like this original ending, so they had to reshoot the ending with money they had to raise because they ran out of money as well. So they shot the new happier ending, which, to be completely honest, I understand that it's not as realistic, but after everything they went through, I kind of just want to win for everybody involved. I mean, I'm with it. I like it. And after watching this film, I actually still think this holds up really well. Besides the quality of the film, which shot on digital, which obviously does not look good, but Boyle really wanted to have that more visceral feeling, make it feel like it was real life, which they said that digital could kind of emulate that. I think he's right in some ways, obviously. I mean, he's the filmmaker, but I would have liked to see like a film version of this just because I feel like all the shots are so beautiful and just so like detailed. The zombie makeup is so detailed that it gets kind of lost in the digital footage, but I'm okay with it. I think the film is unique because it's shot on digital, and I think it's adds to some of the charm of it, so I'm okay with it too. But what do you think? Did you like this film after watching it 20 plus years later, or did it just not hit the same? Let me know down in the comments. I'm actually very interested to see what you guys think, and I guess I'll see you in the next one, huh? All right, bye.